My name is Ryan, and I'm 22 years old. Our household used to consist of 4 people, me, my parents, and my uncle. But when my aunt moved in with us, our small world grew to 5. My aunt, Claire, was stunning. Her fair complexion and dark hair made her even more striking. When she smiled, it felt like the whole room lit up. Her laughter was contagious, and her charm drew people in effortlessly. Over time, Claire and I developed a special bond. She never made me feel like there was any age gap or formality between us. It was like she was my friend, someone I could joke with, and she'd always respond with warmth and affection. She had a way of saying things that made me think in ways I never had before. Being around her felt like an adventure. Claire had this magnetic presence. Whenever we were out together, people couldn't help but notice her. She also had a unique way of looking out for me. She'd take care of little things for me and always asked about my likes and dislikes. It felt like she genuinely cared. One day, it was just the 2 of us at home. Everyone else was busy with errands, and Claire was mopping the floor. I had just stepped out of the shower and was heading to my room when suddenly my foot slipped. I fell hard, and the sound echoed through the house. Claire rushed over to help me up, but the floor was still wet, and she slipped too. She fell right on top of me. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Our eyes locked, and we just stayed there, frozen, for what felt like forever. Finally, we helped each other up, and I quickly retreated to my room, my mind racing about how strange and intense that moment had been. A little later, Claire came to check on me. There was a hint of hesitation in her voice as she softly asked, "Ryan, are you hurt?" I smiled and said, "No, I'm fine." "But what about you? Are you okay?" She paused, then replied, "I'm all right, but I think I twisted my back a little." She was holding a tube of pain relief cream, fidgeting with it nervously. I offered to help her apply it, but she smiled shyly and said, "No, it's okay. I can manage." We just stood there for a moment, looking at each other. Her eyes seemed to be saying something, but neither of us spoke. Finally, she broke the silence and said, "I'll get dinner ready. You can eat whenever you're ready." I nodded, but my mind was swirling with questions. I could sense she was struggling with something, maybe the loneliness of my uncle being away for the past 3 months. Whenever my uncle wasn't around, I tried to step up and help Claire with whatever she needed. One day she came to me and said, "Ryan, I need to pick up a few things from the store." There was a slight hesitation in her voice, almost like she was nervous. I immediately offered to go for her, but she shook her head and said, "No, I'll need to go myself." There was something in her tone and expression that felt different, like she was holding back. After a pause, she added shyly, "Can you take me on your bike?" I was a little surprised, but agreed without hesitation. I got my bike ready, and she climbed on behind me. As soon as she rested her hands lightly on my back, I felt my heart skip a beat. It was a new, strange feeling, but I tried to stay calm. The ride to the store was quiet, but her presence was impossible to ignore. When we got back home, she softly said, "Thank you, Ryan. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you." I just nodded, still processing the emotions swirling inside me. Over the next few days, things felt different between us. One evening, Claire got a call from my uncle. He said he'd be away for a few more weeks. I could see the disappointment on her face. She looked sad and withdrawn, and I wanted to comfort her, but I didn't know how. I was scared of overstepping or saying the wrong thing. That night, after dinner, Everyone else had gone to bed, and it was just Claire and me awake. She was sitting at the kitchen table, picking at her food, looking lost in thought. I walked over and softly asked, "Claire, are you okay? What's wrong? You seem a little worried." Claire said softly, breaking the silence. "Nothing, just a little stressed," I replied, trying to brush it off. But I could tell she wasn't convinced. "Ryan, tell me what's going on," she insisted, her voice gentle but firm. I hesitated, then asked, "Claire, what's the matter? You can talk to me." She looked at me like she wanted to say something but held back. Finally, she said, "Not now. Wait until your parents are asleep, then meet me on the porch. There's something important I need to talk to you about." Her words left me with a mix of curiosity and nervousness. Why did she want to talk to me alone? What was so important that it couldn't be said in front of everyone else? My mind raced with questions as I waited for the house to quiet down. By 11 p.m., my parents were sound asleep. I quietly made my way to the porch, where Claire was already sitting, staring out into the night. I sat down beside her and asked, "Claire, what's going on? Why did you want to talk to me?" She took a deep breath and said, "Ryan, I spoke to your uncle this morning. He said it's going to be a few more weeks before he can come back." I tried to reassure her. Maybe his work is just taking longer than expected. He'll be back as soon as he can. Claire interrupted me, her voice tinged with frustration. "I get that, but does he even care about how I feel? Does he understand how lonely I've been here?" I didn't know how to respond. "Claire, he loves you. He's just caught up with work right now." She sighed. "If he really cared, wouldn't he have found a way to come back by now? Do you have any idea how hard it's been for me, Ryan?" I was confused. "What are you trying to say? I don't think I understand." Claire fell silent for a moment, then looked at me intently. "Ryan, it means exactly what you think it means." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I was stunned, unsure of how to process what she was implying. Before I could respond, she moved closer to me and asked with a playful smile, "Ryan, tell me something. Do you have a girlfriend?" I shook my head. "No, Claire, I don't." She laughed softly. "Really? When I was your age, I had a few boyfriends." I was taken aback. "Wait, what?" Claire saw my surprise and quickly added, "Relax, I'm just teasing you. But seriously, I did have one real love back then." Curious, I asked, "What happened? Why didn't you end up with him?" A shadow crossed her face. I wanted to, but he didn't feel the same way. There was a pause before she turned the question back to me. "So, why haven't you had a girlfriend yet?" I hesitated, then answered honestly, "I guess I've never met anyone who made me feel that way." Claire smiled. "What kind of girl do you like?" I gathered my courage and said, "Someone like you." She laughed, but there was a seriousness in her eyes. "Well, maybe I should be your girlfriend then." I froze, unsure if she was joking. "Claire, are you serious?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes, I am. I've wanted to tell you this for a while, but I wasn't sure how you'd react." Her words left me speechless, but somewhere deep down, I felt a strange sense of happiness. Without thinking, I said, "Okay, I accept." Claire's expression turned serious. "But remember, when your uncle comes back, we have to be careful. If he suspects anything, it could cause problems for both of us." I nodded, though I didn't fully understand the weight of her words. "Claire, what's wrong with us being together? We're not doing anything bad." She smiled softly. "I know, but it's complicated. Just trust me on this, okay? We sat there for a while longer before heading back inside. As I lay in bed that night, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. Claire had been lonely since my uncle left, and now, in a strange way, I felt like I could make her happy until he returned. The next morning, my parents announced they were going to visit relatives for a couple of days. You and Claire will be fine here, right? My mom asked as they headed out the door. Yeah, we'll be fine, I said, trying to sound casual. Once they were gone, it was just Claire and me at home. I was watching TV when she came out of the shower, and I couldn't help but glance at her more than usual. The day passed slowly, and as evening approached, I turned to her and said, "Now that you're my girlfriend, shouldn't we spend some time together?" Claire laughed, but there was a sparkle in her eyes. Okay, let's make the most of it. We ended up talking late into the night, and before I knew it, the sun was rising. Claire looked at me and said, "Last night was unforgettable. I've never felt this way before." From that day on, whenever my uncle was away, Claire and I grew closer. I did everything I could to make her happy, and she seemed to appreciate it. But deep down, I knew this was a secret we'd have to keep buried. We want to make it clear that this story is purely fictional and not intended to reflect or impact anyone's real-life experiences. Our goal is to entertain, not to offend or hurt anyone's feelings. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.